Bill O'Reilly wants to assure you that anti-Muslim bigotry in America isn't really a thing you got to worry about.
It's our responsibility to reject proposals that Muslim Americans should somehow be treated differently. Muslim Americans are our friends and our neighbors, our co-workers, our sports heroes.
Now remember, that was before Mr. Trump's statement tonight. A noble sentiment, but there really isn't any evidence that Muslims are being mistreated in the USA. Here are the stats. 2014, 1,140 religious hate crimes were reported in the USA, all hate crimes. 16% against Muslims, 57% against Jews, 6% against Catholics, 2.5% against Protestants. Remember, this is religion-based, not skin color or anything like that. Joining us now from Washington, Joshua Katz, former CIA operative, and now does private analysis on terrorism. So, Mr. Katz, why do you think the president's making such a big deal out of the Muslim don't be mean to them, when the stats show Jews are at far greater risk in the USA than Muslims?
Absolutely, Bill. And I think from the beginning of the administration, we have seen the president trying to court 2 billion Muslims around the world.
Right. He's trying to court 2 billion Muslims. First of all, I think it's 1.6 or 1.7 billion, not even 2 billion, so I don't even know how that's possible. But second of all, why? He wants them all to vote for him? They're not voting, okay? They're not all in the U.S. We have a tiny Muslim population in the U.S. But let's get to the core of the issue here. O'Reilly says, there really isn't any evidence that Muslims are being mistreated in the U.S. Now, to give him credit on one point, he's right about anti-Semitism. It's a huge problem. We've covered it on this show, and it needs to be covered more because the numbers are clear there. Those statistics are not wrong. So that's point number one. But, Bill, you're missing it. What happened after the Paris attacks, for example, and these recent attacks here in the U.S.? Let me give you some examples. In Connecticut, a mosque was shot up in a drive-by. They shot up the actual building. Thankfully, nobody was inside, but they did property damage. In Florida, there was a call to a mosque, quote, "I'll firebomb you and shoot whoever is there in the head. I don't care if they're children." In Texas, a mosque was splattered with human shit. In Nebraska, a mosque was vandalized. Virginia, at a public meeting, a man stood up, we covered this on the show, berated Muslims, said, quote, "Every one of you are terrorists. All Muslims are terrorists." A Texas man posted, "I'm going to shoot up a mosque" on social media. In Virginia, a man left a fake bomb at a mosque. In Kentucky, a mosque received a death threat. Florida, a man shot at a Muslim man's house. In Pennsylvania, a Muslim taxi driver was shot in the back as he drove away trying to flee from a guy who he just dropped off who said, "I'm going to go inside and get my wallet and come pay you." He thought he was a Muslim. He brought out a gun and shot him in the back. In New York, a Muslim man at a food mart was violently assaulted. And the list goes on and on here. That's only in the U.S. That's only in the U.S. So when you look at the numbers, there's more in Canada. I think we've covered one example of that on the show, and obviously more in Europe. But when you look at examples from the Paris attacks and onward, you do see this backlash. So, in other words, to quote the statistics for, I think he did even 2014, which was the year before. Well, that's not an accurate representation of the concerns of liberals and progressives in the Muslim community who think that after the Paris attacks, you're going to have a new round of anti-Muslim bigotry. And that's true. So look, don't be dense, Bill. That's all I'm going to say here, man. You know, is it true that some people sometimes take it too far and they say something is Islamophobic or it's anti-Muslim bigotry when it's not? Yes, I think there are times when people like myself, I'll argue against Islamic doctrine and somebody say, that's bigotry. It's not bigotry. I'm arguing against the doctrine the same way I argue against Christian doctrine. It's not anti-Muslim, it's anti-Islamic. I can be against Islam. It's an ideology. So do people take it too far sometimes? Yes. But does that mean that there's no evidence of any concern here? There's no anti-Muslim bigotry? No. Guys, keep it in perspective. As I said before, and I'll say again, does it make sense to be anti-Islam? In my opinion, yes. It's a doctrine. It's a belief system like any other worldview. It should be critiqued. And somebody like me totally rejects it. Totally rejects it. So nothing wrong with that. But should you be anti-Muslim? No, Muslims are people. The overwhelming majority of Muslims are not going to be jihadists. And to say, hey, not an issue, no evidence of any wrongdoing in any way, shape, or form, keep it in perspective. Anti-Muslim bigotry is wrong. It's a problem. And also, Islamic extremism, Islamic terrorism is a problem. That's obvious as well. And that needs to be fought in multiple different ways, including in the realm of ideas, where we undermine and discredit the Islamic doctrine that leads people to be radicalized in some cases and contributes to the problem, if not is the heart of the problem. So both things can be true. Islamic terrorism can be a terrible problem that we need to fight in the realm of ideas and in other ways, and anti-Muslim bigotry can be a problem that we can acknowledge and try to prevent as well.